During last week's tutorial, you may recall how you used the pencil, paintbrush, and eraser tools. Those tools will help you understand how the lighting and patching tools work, as they all operate on similar principles. Similar to the eraser and paintbrush tools, the dodge and burn tools are opposites. They have the same control variables as the paintbrush, such as size and angle, but the major difference is that they will add either lightness or darkness to the image, as opposed to imposing an existing image on top. There is also an exposure slider to determine how much lightness or darkness you want applied. Like so. You can also select whether the lighting applies to shadows, midtones, or highlights in the image. Note that the dodge and burn tools are compacted in the same option in GIMP. The other pair of opposites besides the dodge and burn tools are the sharpen and blur tools. Although there is a unique rate variable to determine how intense the blurring or sharpening is. You cannot select a range of lights to limit it to the way you can with the dodge and burn tools. Instead, it will always apply to the entire area of the image you select. The smudge tool works by using a paintbrush to blend areas next to each other, and will fade the longer you click and drag, much in the same way that a hand on paper will smudge it. If you want the effect to be constant rather than wearing out, you can select No Erasing Effect. You can also select Sample Merged to make it sample all of the layers at once, instead of just the layer you are smudging. This is especially useful if you want a more accurate smudge look. The rate will determine the intensity of the blurring, and the flow variable will make it more solid, much in the same way that pressing your finger harder against a paper will flow harder. Now that we have learned how the smudge tool works, we can use this knowledge to more fully understand how the clone tool works as well. While the blur tool smudges parts of an image together along a brush path, the clone tool will instead paste parts of a reference image on top of the image you are using the path. The exact parts are determined by this thing known as the reference point. In GIMP, you hold Control and then click which part you would like to sample. In Photoshop, you would hold Alt and click instead. In GIMP, there is an Alignment drop-down menu, which will determine how exactly the point is referenced. In particular, the None option will start the reference point each time you clone, like so. As you can see, there is a guide showing you how you're referencing it. The Aligned option will start the reference point the first time you clone, and then use that reference point every time after, instead of starting new like None does. The Registered option will always use the original point you cloned, rather than determining a new one the way none and align do. Finally, the fixed option will simply paint that one exact reference point repeatedly, much in the way a paintbrush paints an image. In Photoshop, the alignment is either fixed or aligned, so you must make sure that you click properly. You can also sample merged with the clone tool in GIMP, much in the same way you can sample merged with the smudge tool. It will have the same exact principle, i.e. that it will sample all the layers at once of the area you select. Now that we have learned how the clone tool works, we can also understand how the healing tool works. The healing tool works similar to the clone tool, but instead of copying parts of an image to another directly, it instead uses the sample point as a way to fix irregularities in comparison to that sample point. Note that because all of these tools I showed you operate on similar principles to the drawing tools, they also have all the same options as well. Next week, we will discuss layer blending, layer masks, and layer effects, and how you can use them to conveniently edit images without drawing directly on the layer.
Don't forget to subscribe if you found this video informative, and make sure to visit the other tutorial videos and follow me on either Facebook or Twitter for more content.